Get out of the water right now because this area is reserved for residents who actually matter. Those words sliced through the humid July air like a rusty blade, shattering the only peace I had felt in weeks. I looked up from my floatie to see a teenager with a sneer so practiced it could only have been inherited, and I knew exactly whose blood ran through his veins. The sun was a blistering weight on my shoulders, the kind of heat that makes the asphalt shimmer and the cicadas scream in a rhythmic, deafening pulse. I had been back in town for exactly 48 hours, trying to wash off the grime of a high-stakes narcotics bust in the cool, chlorinated blue of the Neptune Estates community pool. The scent of coconut sunscreen and fried summer air was supposed to be my sanctuary. Instead, I was staring at a kid named Hunter, who looked like he had been assembled in a factory for entitled brats, complete with a designer swim trunk set that probably cost more than my first car. He stood there with his arms crossed, blocking my sun, his shadow stretching over me like an omen of the headache to come. I took a slow, deliberate breath, feeling the water lap against my chest, a rhythmic slap 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 against the tile that felt like a ticking clock. I didn't move. I just let out a long, weary sigh that rattled in my lungs, the sound of a man who had seen too many crime scenes to be intimidated by a kid who hadn't even started shaving. "You must be lost." "Is it?" My voice low and gravelly, the kind of tone that usually makes people reconsider their next sentence. Hunter didn't reconsider. To a sharp, ugly sound that grated against the quiet afternoon. "Do you have any idea who my mom is? She's the head of the HO, and she doesn't like strangers clogging up our amenities. So grab your cheap towel and beat it before I call the cops." The irony was so thick I could almost taste it, metallic and sharp like a penny under the tongue. I watched him pull out a gold-cased iPhone, his thumb hovering over the screen with a smug grin that said he thought he held the world in his palm. I closed my eyes for a second, listening to the distant splash of a fountain and the faint hum of a lawnmower 3 streets over. "Is that so, Beth?" Drifting slowly toward the edge of the pool where my bag sat. I felt the rough texture of the concrete under my fingertips as I gripped the rim. "You're going to call the police because a resident is swimming in the pool he pays dues for?" Hunter leaned down, his face reddening, his breath smelling like expensive soda and arrogance. "You don't belong here, loser. You look like you crawled out of a gutter. Look at your skin. Look at that beat-up bag. This is a high-end neighborhood, not a shelter." The sting of his words didn't hurt. I'd been called worse by cartel leaders, but the sheer audacity of it sparked a slow-burning fuse in my gut. I hoisted myself out of the water, the droplets cascading off my shoulders and hitting the hot deck with a frantic hiss. I didn't say a word as I reached into my waterproof tactical bag, my fingers brushing past the cold, heavy steel of my service weapon before settling on the leather wallet. Just as I was about to flip it open, a high-pitched screech echoed across the pool deck, a sound so piercing it could have shattered glass. "Hunter, what is this trash doing in our water? Enter Beatrice." She marched toward us like a general leading an army of one, her oversized sunglasses reflecting the glare of the pool and her spray tan glowing an unnatural shade of burnt orange. She was the quintessential HOA, clutching a clipboard like it was the 10 Commandments and wearing a frown that looked permanent. I stayed silent, dripping onto the concrete, watching the mother-son duo unite in their shared delusion of grandeur. Beatrice didn't even look me in the eye. She looked at my tattoos and my worn-out flip-flops with a disgust so visceral she actually recoiled. "I want him gone," Hunter whined, pointing a finger at my chest. "He threatened me. He said he was going to hurt me if I didn't leave him alone." The lie hung in the air, foul and heavy. I felt a cold chill that had nothing to do with the water. A false report. That's a dangerous game to play in my county. Beatrice's eyes snapped to mine, her nostrils flaring. You heard him. This is a private community for families of character, not thugs with ink and an attitude. I am calling the authorities this instant, and I will make sure you are barred from this zip code. She was shouting now, her voice echoing off the stucco walls of the clubhouse, drawing the attention of a few elderly neighbors who peeked out from behind their screen porches. I just stood there, feeling the heat dry the water on my skin, leaving behind a faint crust of salt. Are you sure you want to do that, ma'am? Beth? My voice calm, almost a whisper. It's a long walk for the deputies if it's just for a neighbor minding his business. Beatrice scoffed, her thumb flying across her phone screen. Don't you dare speak to me. I know the sheriff personally. We had tea at the gala. He'll have you in chains before the sun sets. I actually had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. I had never had tea with this woman in my life, and I certainly didn't remember any gala. I watched her talk into the phone, her voice dripping with fake distress, spinning a tale of a violent trespasser who was lunging at her son. It was a masterclass in manipulation, a performance designed to ruin a man's life over a pool chair. Minutes passed. The tension was a physical weight, a tightening in the chest. Hunter stood behind his mother, smirking, sticking his tongue out at me like the child he was. Then, the faint wail of a siren broke the silence. It grew louder, a rhythmic screaming that tore through the manicured quiet of Neptune Estates. Two cruisers rounded the corner, tires screeching slightly as they pulled up to the pool gate. Beatrice straightened her sundress, a triumphant glint in her eyes. You're going to get what's coming to you now, she hissed. Deputies Miller and Sanchez stepped out of the cars, their boots crunching on the gravel. They looked serious, hands hovering near their belts, eyes scanning the scene. Beatrice sprinted toward them, her voice reaching a theatrical crescendo. Officers, thank God. That man right there. He attacked my son. He's dangerous. He's a squatter. A veteran who had served under me for 5 years. Looked at her, then looked at me. He stopped dead in his tracks. His jaw didn't drop. He was too professional for that, but I saw the flash of pure, unadulterated confusion in his eyes. I took a step forward, the sun finally hitting the silver star on the badge I had just pulled from my bag. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the cicadas seemed to stop their screaming. Miller cleared his throat, his posture shifting into a crisp salute. Sheriff Dalton? His voice echoing in the dead air. We got a call about a violent 10-31. Is everything all right, sir? The color drained from Beatrice's face so fast I thought she might faint. It went from orange to a sickly, chalky white in 3 seconds flat. Hunter's phone slipped from his hand, clattering onto the concrete with a pathetic thud. Sheriff? Beatrice stammered, her voice cracking like dry wood. That's impossible. You're just it. I stepped toward her, the wet thud of my flip-flops the only sound in the universe. I'm the man you just lied to the police about, Beatrice. And in this county, we take filing a false police report very, very seriously. I looked at Miller, then at Sanchez. My son told me he threatened us, Beatrice shrieked. A last-ditch effort to save herself. But Hunter was already backing away, his face a mask of terror. I turned to the boy. You said I threatened you? Hunter? You said I was going to hurt you? I looked at the security camera mounted on the clubhouse, pointing directly at the pool deck. I happen to know that camera records high-definition audio. Should we go inside and listen to it together? Or should we just let the deputies take your statements under penalty of perjury right now? Hunter broke. He didn't just crack, he shattered. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mom told me to make him leave. She said we don't want people like him in our pool. The betrayal was the final nail. Beatrice looked at her son with a mix of fury and horror. But the damage was done. I felt a wave of cold justice wash over me. More refreshing than any pool water. Beatrice? You've spent your life using your position to bully people, to gatekeep a community as if you own the souls within it. But today, you forgot that the law doesn't care about your HOA title. Is it? My voice steady and cold as ice. Take the statements. Review the footage. If the audio confirms what I think it does, I want them both cited for filing a false report and harassment. And Beatrice? She looked at me, trembling. I'm going to be at every HOA meeting from now on. I think it's time for a change in leadership. As they led a sobbing Beatrice and a shaking Hunter toward the cruisers, the neighborhood seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The air felt lighter, the sun less oppressive. I sat back down on the edge of the pool, dangling my feet in the water, watching the blue ripples settle into a calm, glass-like surface. Justice isn't always about the big busts or the high-speed chases. Sometimes, it's about reminding the bullies that their kingdom is built on sand. No matter how much power you think you have, nobody is above the truth, and nobody gets to drown out the rights of another. I dove back into the water, the cool embrace finally feeling like home.